lot of them for Dutch television, oddly enough. Still remember one of the lines, Veen brengen alleen in Nustemoda.
I was going to ask you, so how many languages do you speak?
Welcome to Posture and Purpose, where both healing and community come together. Make sure to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Let's get into this episode with Dr. Michelle Carr Frank.
Today's guest has lived a life filled with unforgettable chapters. From bright Hollywood lights, iconic television sets, to deeply personal battles that revealed a whole different kind of strength. John Valdetero built a successful acting career, appearing in beloved shows like Coach, Murphy Brown, 2.5 Men, Third Rock from the Sun, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Jag, The Drew Carey Show, and many, many more. But today's conversation goes far beyond television. It's about resilience, identity, coming home, redemption, and discovering who you truly are when life changes everything. John's journey is one of courage, reinvention, humor, heartbreak, and hope. And I'm honored to share this story with you today. So welcome, my friend, John Valdetero.
Thank you, Michelle. You made me sound really good. It's like I'm going, who is that guy? I'd like to meet him.
It's you. It's you. So thank you. So you've lived a life that is, what most people would see, as a dream or on the stage or in the movies. Quite a story that you have. So before acting credits started, who was John Valdetero?
John Valdetero's identity was Antoine and Jean's youngest of 6, but an only child. My parents were both married before, and their first mates died. So Dad had 3 sons, Mom had a son and a daughter. They met and married, and then they had me. So I was the kind of the bond between the two sides, right? My identity was sports and academics. I look back on it. It's like it's almost to me. I kind of it's a little cheesy, but Mr. Jennings High School, all that,
right,
John,
all the accolades,
the most likely to succeed. And I guess I would, people would go, he was a failure. No, I'm just kidding. It was the 2 dreams of my life were to play football in the NFL, and then use that to become an actor.
Okay.
And as you'll find out in a little bit, I didn't get a good enough left knee because I'm now without it. But I played an NFL football coach on TV for 2.5 years, so kind of made it.
This is true, yes. So what brought you from Jennings, Louisiana to New York City? How did that transition occur?
Well, I went to a weekend seminar in Atlanta for, they hold these seminars, how to break into the entertainment business. Back then they did. Okay. And it was more or less a trip just to hang out with a couple of buddies of mine, right? But it sparked something in me. Like, the seminar wasn't very good, but I was in college doing what I was supposed to do.
Right.
And, that fire had burned within me, and I just wasn't happy. I was miserable. Well, I had a whopping total of $900, a suitcase, a hanging bag. I bought a plane ticket besides the $900. And one of the guys that was at the seminar was from New York. His mom lived in Soho. And I called Rob and I said, hey, man, I'm moving up. You got the only place I can rent? He goes, well, let me talk to my mom. So she let me stay in the basement of her brownstone in Soho for about a month. Okay. And overnight, I went from sleeping in the bedroom that I grew up in, and the next night I was on a cot in a basement in Soho. No culture shock at all.
No, not for this Southern boy, not at all.
No, not a bit.
And so the acting seminar in Atlanta, did that spark some type of interest in acting, or was it your friend?
It was always there, Michelle. It's so strange. I can remember, and it's so funny because I watched it again at Easter, the movie The 10 Commandments. Mm-hmm. So it shall be written, so it shall be done, right?
Right.
Yul Brynner. I can remember as a little tiny boy, 6 years old, sitting in front of the TV, watching it, and somehow I understood that it was created. Like, where did they get all those people and the animals, and where they build this I understood that, and it sparked something in me then that I wanted to do.
That young.
And I'm just, I've always loved storytellers. I grew up at the feet of some of the greatest storytellers. When your dad's a pastor and you go to church camp and all those things, you're around all that. And, as far as the acting, I never got in it to be famous. Some people, it's about becoming a star. Others want the riches with it, right?
Sure.
For me, it's what I shared with you before. It was about the process. It was about creating art. And as an actor, I look at it this way. I'm creating a piece of art that lives, breathes, thinks, feels, moves, reacts, and is proactive. It's alive. And you're portraying a life. Even when you go a little far out there, like on Third Rock or Yes Dear playing a gorilla from Planet of the Apes, that was pretty fun.
It sounds fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Was there a moment when you were in New York that you realized, okay, I can actually do this?
I never believed that I couldn't. There's always those doubts whenever you're young. But the one gift that God really gave me that carried me through was I'm very hard-headed. And I just, it's like, if other people can do it, why can't I do it? And even as tough, some of the times got tough, I shared that with you. I lied my way into a bartending job at 19. Oh, I've been bartending in Louisiana since I was 16. Right.
Did you get the job?
I got the job.
Hey.
But it was at a 5-star restaurant, and there was like 60 seats in the bar. And for the first 2 years, everything I made went to, because living in New York City can get tiring. Even if you have the weekend off, you're still in the city. To go get groceries, you're always in New York City. So that my buddy Rob, his sister became a policewoman in Mount Kisco, New York. And she bought a house there, and she needed some housemates. So I moved up, and it was 50 minutes on Metro North in Westchester County. So everything I made went to pay for my train commute daily.
Oh, gosh.
Food, and of course, an apartment. My roommate became the head chef at the restaurant. Eric's still one of my dear friends. But for the first couple of years, all I had to eat, really, if people left a piece of steak or a shrimp on their plate, when I cleared it, that's what I had to eat. And I would not, as I told you, I would not trade that for anything.
That's tough.
It's tough, but that's what makes you.
Yeah, the
You have to
reality of that hardship.
Whatever you believe in, you have to be willing, if you really are going to make the choice to go for it, you have to be willing to risk everything.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that, I'm one of those people that I will think through things, but I have always had the ability to go, I'm all in. It's either the big pot or nothing.
Right. And that's probably what carried you along.
A lot of times. Got me in a lot of trouble, too.
I'm sure, yeah. We're
but
not going to tell those stories.
Wins and losses, right?
So what brought you from New York to Hollywood?
Well, let's see. I finished acting school about 4.5 years, and I wanted to study European television and film. So I did the same thing again. I packed my bags and didn't know anybody there this time. I had a little more cash, but I only brought enough. I brought about $5,000. I wanted to have to earn a living, but to give me enough to kind of transition.
Yeah.
And bought a plane ticket to Milan, Italy, and went there, and ended up having an apartment in Milan and one in Paris. And for 2 years, I worked in Germany, Italy, Holland, Spain, and France.
Ooh.
I didn't always, like I said, I didn't always look this way. I did the collections for the designers, which was kind of like live theater. And they loved me because I wasn't that, model. I was an actor, really. But I was tall and skinny. So, they loved how the clothes hung. But I did that to earn a living. I think I did a little over 60 commercials during that time. A lot of them for Dutch television, oddly enough. Still remember one of the lines, Veen brengen alleen in nuste mode.
I was going to ask you, so how many languages do you speak?
But it's, and then I was really blessed. I got a job with the top celebrity and musician photographer in all of Europe. Her name was Daniela Scaramuzza as her assistant. And it was great because Daniela would not fly and she wouldn't take a train. So she had a big giant Volvo station wagon, and we would load it up and get on the Autobahn and drive to Dusseldorf or whatever city and go to the hotel and shoot Bon Jovi at the hotel, and then backstage and then on stage.
You're killing
Prince,
me.
I mean, it was an awesome experience.
You're killing me. Just rub it in. That's just, now I'm jealous.
It was just my life. You know what I mean? It's like...
But what about your first time stepping onto a television set? Do you remember the first time?
Oh, yeah.
And you remember
Oh,
which
yeah.
set it was?
I was very, well, the first job I ever did, and thank God I've never seen this. I was still in New York, and I got a commercial for the Yellow Pages, and it was going to be shot in Boston, and it was about 2 degrees, and I was an actual page from the Yellow Page. They had made a foam page, and I had on a yellow, like, leotard suit with yellow face paint, and I was talking to people on the street, and it was like
2 degrees.
2 degrees, yeah. It's like
Fun stuff.
Oh man, but in Hollywood, I was very blessed. I was back here, came back home after I left Europe, came back home and married the most beautiful woman I ever saw. And it'll be 37 years this November. She's from Lake Arthur.
The big city.
And she, in her own right, Jackie's one of the premier haircutters in North America. She's traveled all over the world. She's a teacher at Sassoon.
Oh, wow.
She works for Neal Corporation in Hammond. And so I consider her the artist, right?
Yes.
But we got married, and we were planning on moving to LA in about a year. And then a buddy of mine called and said, hey, listen, there's a miniseries being shot, and there's no parts for you, but Craig T. Nelson is the star, and he needs a stunt double and photo double while he's doing it, and would you be interested? So I went to my boss, his name was Jerry Amoroso, who back in the 70s was the lead singer or drummer of a band called Pot Liquor. So Jerry still had those dreams and aspirations that maybe someday he'd become a rock star.
Right.
Even though he was like losing it. I love Jerry. Anyway, he was like, yeah, man, you got to do it. So he let me go do it. And I was only supposed to work on it for 3 weeks, I think. It was shot in Morgan City. And about 2 or 3 days before they wrapped down here and they were going to go to New Mexico, Craig's assistant, Dusty, said, hey, boss wants to talk to you at lunchtime. I'm like, okay. So I go sit down with him and have lunch, and he goes, what are your plans? And I told him, and he goes, well, why don't you come out in a couple of months and go to work for me? That was the greatest blessing, because on Coach, I actually started working on the show in season 5. I was his stunt double, stand-in photo double for 16 years. Even after I became a working actor, he's like my professional father, right? And the influence of him on my professional life is just untold. And the great part about it is Craig directed about half of the episodes of Coach.
Really?
So the weeks that he directed, even before I was on the show, I would do all of the rehearsal time as Craig doing Hayden. And I got so good at it,
Really?
he would get mad at me, right? But it was great training, because what other opportunity do you get to like have that kind of rehearsal time on a top 10 TV show?
Right. And was that the moment where you felt like I've arrived?
No. The moment I felt like I arrived, my mother, when she was married to her first husband, they were very, very poor, and they lived in a trailer park. Sorry, people in the park felt so sorry for them because they had 2 kids. They didn't have much. They pulled their money together and bought them tickets to a dinner comedy show in San Diego. And it featured a brand new comic named Tim Conway. All right.
Wow.
So from the time I was probably in her womb, Tim Conway was everything. Every Saturday night, sitting in front of the TV watching Carol Burnett. And that formed me a lot as well, right?
Oh, my gosh. For those of you who don't know what the Carol Burnett show is, please go back and watch.
Oh, my God. Like Mrs. Tudball.
It was the best. Oh, my gosh.
Well, I'll get to the skit anyway in a second. But the moment that I realized it, because what happens in life when we're pursuing a dream is the dream always progresses, right? And we shot each episode of Coach in front of a live audience at 3:00 on Friday and at 7:00. Same episodes, 2 different audiences. And the 3:00 episode would be most of the tourists, people on the tram, stuff like that. The 7:00 would be network executives, studio executives, family, especially for someone like Tim. But those 5 days, this is whenever I was now one of the coaches on the show. Those 5 days of rehearsal, Bill Fagerbakke that played Thalberg, more than once he and I had to go, we got to go off stage because like we couldn't breathe. We were laughing because Tim
Conway
would start ad-libbing And Jerry Van Dyke was very kind of jealous because he always saw himself as Dick's little brother, even though during the years of Coach, Jerry was the more famous one, but he never, right. So Craig would egg him on and go, Jerry, you're not going to let him do that, are you? So then Jerry would start ad-libbing, and it was hilarious. Didn't hit me at the 3 o'clock show. And by the way, Tim Conway won an Emmy for Best Comedic Guest Star on that episode.
Oh.
Played Kenny the Gardener, who was a Vietnam veteran who had flashbacks. And he killed everything, which is hilarious. But
I have to go watch it.
the 7 o'clock show, we wrap filming, and they always had like what they call a warm-up comic in the stands, and it was packed that night. And we shot the show on film. So you had the big Panavision camera on the dolly, you had the camera operator, the focus puller, and the dolly operator. And we had 4 of those. And, you know, they were playing the music. And the warm-up comic said, ladies and gentlemen, on your feet. And it's Coach John Valdetero. And, you know, I go out, take my bow, and it's stage 43 at Universal Studios. And as Kenny the Gardener, Mr. Tim Conway. And Michelle, when I turned, and I realized Tim Conway's.
What a
It's
moment.
like, and I know people go, oh, it's good. It's kind of like when you get in a car wreck, everything slows down. But,
Pinch yourself.
right? And for that moment, I went back to being that little boy wearing my Archie Manning pajamas, watching the show with Mom on Saturday nights, and then everything I had been through up to that point. That morning, when I pulled up to the gates at Universal, I got to go to the special gate. Good morning, Mr. Valdetero. Good morning, guys. How you doing? I had a parking spot with my name on it, a dressing room, and a golf cart. And that moment really hit me hard about be aware of where you're at, right?
Be in the moment.
Be in the moment. And it's, you know, it's Cicero wrote an essay about 2,000 years ago in Rome because he observed some things about people. And that was that the successful people had a tendency to always go, well, you know, whenever I get this business grown or I get this amount of money or this amount of land or power, whatever it was, then I'll be able to do what I want to do. And they never did. And he termed them people who were busy without a purpose, right? But the most devastating part of it is he short phrase that's the Italians still use it today. It's memento vivere. And it means remember to live. Because it's never a perfect time.
That's good advice.
It's never
Still
a perfect
today.
time. And, you know, the sad part that he observed was this, that at the end of the day, the worst part wasn't death. It was the fact that they never, ever truly lived.
Right.
And I have a lifetime of stories.
Yes.
We could take, this could be a series.
Because of so many of these experiences,
Right.
which cast do you feel like you have the best memories of, I don't know, being fun or laughing the most on set?
I would say it's bits and parts of some.
Certain ones.
You know, Malcolm in the Middle was a hoot. As I mentioned to you, Charlie Sheen was one of the nicest people I ever worked with.
Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. I mean, like, he could have been the Tiger Blood. I don't know. But he was like, my first day when I got there, we were about to do table read with producers on Monday. Because how a sitcom would go, you do table read of the script, right? Each actor. And then the producers are listening and they kind of discuss it in a little bit. And then you go home. Like Monday's like a 2.5 hour day. So it was golf time. And then Tuesday you rehearse and then you do a run through for producers. Same on Wednesday. Thursdays you do, you put it to camera blocking. And then Friday you film it. Well, when I got there on Monday, Charlie was all the way across the soundstage at Warner. And I mean all the way across at the door on the other side. And those stages are pretty huge. And he turned and looked and go, oh, hey, there's our guest guy. And he came running across, hey, my name's Charlie. And I'm like, well, hi, I'm
Well,
John.
how
You know,
nice.
very welcoming. So
Yeah.
we're
Some people would probably
the mom and dad on Malcolm in the Middle. They were the same way. They had a little gift basket for me in my trailer. I'm like, how nice is that? And you never know.
Yeah,
you know.
sometimes that's not the experience, I
No,
would assume.
it's not. It's not all the time.
And what do you feel like success looked like back then? I know you have a different perspective now because you can look back, but just getting started and knowing, hey, I've arrived. This is really working out.
You know, honestly, Michelle, I never let myself really think that I arrived. I think that's a fool's errand, and it makes you, oh, okay, then it becomes about ego.
Yeah.
Pressure is a blessing, and when you're in the entertainment industry, you always okay, that's a show wrap on John. You're always like, will I ever work again? Right?
Gosh, that's stressful.
And I was just really blessed because I just went literally. There was a stretch of probably 16 years. I went from show to show to show, or commercial, or whatever it may be. I worked all the time.
That's good.
And it's success became more about my children.
Right. Things
I
change
just
when
couldn't raise them
when
out in
children
California. Yeah.
enter the story. Was there a celebrity moment besides Tim Conway that you'd like to share? I know you've worked with John Lithgow, Kirk Douglas. You mentioned before. How do you
the list
sum
of
that
people,
up?
Michelle, I could, people would go, oh God, he's annoying. My best friend out there, his name was Rich Hara. He was the only adopted son of Bill Hara, as in Harrah's Casinos. His mom her name was Verna. She was Bill's sixth wife, and she got everything. And if you knew Verna,
Sixth wife.
you would go, oh, I believe she got everything.
Makes sense.
He invited us one time to a dinner party at her weekend home in Malibu. This place was, I think the house was $80 million. The back walls of the house slid open. The caretaker's home we pull up to, there's two gates. This is kind of funny, actually. My wife had a geoprism, and she had run into this thing, and so the front passenger panel was dented really bad, and it would bada, 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 like that. So there's the guest gate and then the employee gate, and we pull up to the guest gate, and there's guys with serious dudes, right? And they're looking at us like,
What are they
and
doing?
I rolled down the window, I rolled it down, and I was like, John and Jackie Valdetero.
We're on the list, I swear.
So he goes back to the little hut, he comes back and he goes, go on through, sir. So we go, and you had this long drive, and when you got to the main house, there was this huge circular thing, in front. Well, when I get to the circular thing, lined up all the way down to the right were classic Mercedes-Benz and Rolls-Royces, and you're going, oh my God, there's millions of dollars in cars.
You'll never forget that.
Valets are at a private party. We pull up, and they open the door for Jackie of a geoprism, and I handed the guy $10 like I was a big dude. And I said, man, please park it. And he goes, I got you, sir, no worries. That night we had dinner with Frank Sinatra, Gregory Peck.
That's amazing.
But it's when you meet Sinatra, it's not that big a deal. But
I'm sorry.
he
I
wasn't
beg
there.
to differ.
Some of I just never got that into it.
You didn't.
Peck was the only person, my wife Jackie will say, that's the only time I ever saw you starstruck. And that was when we were leaving, and I was checking to make sure nobody else was leaving, so we could get our little prism and go. And when I walked out, I looked down to the left, and our prism is like the third car, and I'm going, we just walked to it, but you can't. So
Yeah.
the valet goes and gets it, and as he pulls up, I feel a shadow on my right shoulder. And I'm like, how you doing, sir? And it was Peck. And I was like, oh, my Lord. He goes, is that your car? Yeah. I don't know what he meant by this, but the response was ballsy, very ballsy. So, it's like moments like that.
You won't forget.
I cherish them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's what makes life.
Right, exactly. People often see glamour when they see Hollywood. There's an image. But what parts of it did you see from the inside that the world may not be aware of? What would really surprise us, or maybe not surprise us so much?
Well, first of all, there's a major difference between old Hollywood and current Hollywood, or when I was there. The actors, the stars in old Hollywood were made and created by the studios, and a lot of times their whole lives were arranged for the media coverage of it. You'd have a gay man and a lesbian woman that were married and suddenly had kids, but they weren't.
It's all staged.
It's all staged. And so my generation of actors, we had to earn it. You weren't made. And I never wanted to be a star, like a Hollywood. What I mean by that is Schwarzenegger was a star. There's some substance at times in his acting. But, it was about the big name. I wanted to be, I was put into that lead role category, but I took parts that were not what lead guys would do, like the strong man on Third Rock or the ape from Planet of the Apes on Yes Dear. And, and speaking of Tim Conway, I wanted to back in it with this. That night after we finished filming, we always had they had cocktails on the soundstage and the food and stuff. And I went up to him and was like, "Hey, Tim, would you sign a headshot for my mom? You're her favorite actor." He goes, "John, I'm so sorry. I don't have one, but give me her address and I'll send her one." And I thought, yeah, right. But I wrote it down and I handed it to him. He goes, "I got you." The next week, on Thursday, we came up blocking the next episode. And those were the days of flip phones. And somebody said, "John, your phone's buzzing on the table." So I go and grab it and look at it, and it's my parents' home number back here in Jennings. My dad had cancer, so I thought something had happened.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, "Guys, excuse me." I walked off the stage, and I called her back and said, "Mom, is everything okay?" And she was screaming. And I'm like, "Mom, is Dad okay?" My mother, this is how she cussed. "He's a jack, you know what?" Like she couldn't even say, but she goes, "Oh, to hell with your dad. He's fine." She had gotten a package from Tim, and he wrote her a letter, sent her an autographed headshot, and I still have both in my walk-in closet. And it's one of the greatest honors of my life because he told her, not only is your son a extremely talented young man and artist, he's an even better person.
Oh.
And Tim and I, he ended up doing 2 episodes of Coach. He and I were friends of the episode of Yes Dear when I was the ape. He played the main guy's dad and got hooked on comics and goes to a Comic-Con convention and befriends the one guy who's the ape from Planet of the Apes, right? Me.
Enter you.
Yeah,
Right.
and then we did a pilot together. And Tim actually became a mentor and friend of mine over the time. And that was things like that. God works in such amazing ways.
Speaking of that, tell us your story about John Lithgow. I would love for you to share that story.
I didn't know this until about less than 2 years ago. When I guest starred on that show, there was something I wanted to tell him very badly. I wanted to thank him for. So I shared something with him and never thought anything of it, right? And less than 2 years ago, my oldest brother, Danny, who is my hero, of all the people I've ever known, the best man, I want to be him. I mean, he's my hero. He calls me one night and he goes, "Hey man, what's the thing with you in the movie Footloose?" I'm like, "Danny, I hadn't even left Louisiana yet." He goes, "I'm telling you, it's on YouTube." I'm like, "Bruh, what are you talking about?" He goes, "I'll send you the link." So he sends me the link and it's like, "Okay, I got it. I'll watch it when we hang up." He goes, "No, I want you to watch it now." Well, I'm 50, at the time I was 58, almost 59. And I'd never heard from a relative, an older male in my family, the words, "I'm proud of you." In fact, my father actually told me a month before my son was born that I was the greatest disappointment in his life.
Oh, no.
It's okay. It's a blessing. It's one of the best things that ever happened to me. But I start watching it, and I'm dumbfounded. And when it finished, I can hear him crying on the other end of the phone. And I'm speechless. And I said, "Dude, I don't know what to say." He goes, "Baby brother, I am so proud of you." And what it is I had shared with Lithgow the fact that when we were growing up, we weren't allowed to listen to rock and roll music in the house while Dad was home. We couldn't go to high school dances, even though I did. But I was the first one, really, with both parents' knowledge, that went to the high school prom. And it was because of John Lithgow's performance. When I went to see Footloose, it was like I was watching a movie version of my father. And when he tells the story, and he's been telling this story for over 30 years, Michelle. Like,
we're going to put the clip somewhere in the...
Every time he's interviewed and asked about Footloose, he tells this story.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. It changed how he looked at the movie. He thought it was just a teeny bopper movie. And he goes, "I realized then that every piece you do has value, and you never know how it's going to affect somebody."
Right.
He just, it was overwhelming. It was so humbling. It's a story about me because it is, there's things that are a little different. We weren't Baptist Church of Christ, and it wasn't the next night. It was like a month later. And my dad actually walked out of the movie theater because he thought I was making fun of him, and he didn't talk to me for 3 weeks after that. but that's okay.
Oh, no.
But it meant something to him, and what a great honor for me, because
Right.
what it tells me is that, and this is what my brother and I talked about later, and my wife said, she goes, you don't know how many people you've touched with that one moment. We hold things in the heart of our soul, our dreams, our hopes, the things that are most intimate only to us, and we're always afraid to let them out because we're scared somebody's going to mock it or laugh at it or tell us that's ridiculous. But we have to have courage, and as you know, I'm a man of strong faith, and fear, I have no doubt, is the tool that Satan uses to attack us. Why are there 365 times throughout the entire Bible, do not be afraid? That's one for every day. That's like you leaving the house and your dad going, hey, don't be afraid. I know, Dad, you tell me every day.
Don't be afraid.
But you're still being afraid. Don't be afraid. Right?
Right.
We have to overcome that. And they're put inside of us for a reason. We're all unique. We're all individual. Our fingerprints, there's no one that has mine or yours, right?
Right.
And it's the same way with our perspective and the way we see the world. We see it uniquely. We just always want to try to fit in instead of, we want to be in the box. Man, I don't live my life in the box.
I don't doubt it at all. Especially
I refuse to, because
I know you.
It's to accomplish great things, not for my glory, but for God's glory. You have to take great risk.
And wasn't there? I know I made a note of it. There was someone you wanted me to mention. Was it Dan?
Dave Campbell. Okay, this story. Oh my goodness. I had an uncle. His name was Wallace. Wallace he was a Marine in World War II. And when he came back home, he became a severe alcoholic, ended up wrapping his car around a tree. And I noticed as a kid growing up, every time, like it's a teenager, if family was over and they were talking about Wallace and I walked into the room, my dad would shut down the conversation. Strange. And he would always say, well, Wallace loved that bottle more than he loved us. So Dan was the head of the wardrobe for Coach. And he and I became good friends. We played softball together, and, we had a lot of heart-to-heart talks. And he asked about my family, mine about his. I think it was South Dakota he grew up, living off the grid, never had a TV.
Very different.
Mom had never seen a show. And he asked about my, parents. And so a few months later, one day he goes, hey, man, my mom's coming to visit next week. You get to meet her. I'm like, cool, dude. And I had asked him he had asked me if my parents were in love. And I said, well, they love each other, but they, first mates were the love of their life. What about yours? He goes, well, my dad's in love with my mom, like horrifically. But my mom was in love with this guy. In fact, he was a Marine from Louisiana. They think he was killed and missing in action in World War II. Never heard from him again.
Louisiana.
Never thought about anything. Well, she comes to the show. And we had filmed the 3:00 show, and I had a meeting with my agent up at what we call the Black Tower, the big building in the front of Universal City, about a movie I was going to do. So after we finished the first show, I went up to the tower, and I got back late for the 7:00 show, and was the last one to go through hair and makeup. And the green room was right next to the stands where all the live audience was, and the comics going. It's like 5 minutes to 7. And when I walk in the green room, I stand next to Bill Fagerbach, and I'm like, oh, is that Dan's mom? Because their backs were to me. And it was Jerry and Craig about sitting on the wall. And he goes, yeah, that's her. And well, Dan hears that and turns around and goes, oh, hey, Mom, last one. I want you to meet my friend John. She turns around the show and gasped. And everybody's like, Craig goes, well, I told you he was ugly, trying to make light of it. But
Right.
she began to cry, like hysterically the whole bit.
Saying
She
ghost.
gathers herself. Well, now it's like 2 minutes after 7, and they're pushing us to go out there. And Craig's like, hold on a second. And she says, I'm sorry, what was your name? I said, my name is John. John, what? I said, Valdetero. And that? Oh, my goodness. She goes, you wouldn't have happened to have been related to a man named Wallace, would you? She was engaged to my uncle.
Really?
Okay, we're on Soundstage 43 at Universal Studios. If I've never left Louisiana to pursue my dream and would have quit at any time throughout that process, I wouldn't have been where I was, would never have met her. She ended up sending me photographs that no one had seen of my Uncle Wallace. They remembered after that my grandmother took a train to meet her in Chicago. They then went together to Boston to see him off. And she had photographs of that. And one of the pictures she sent me is the photograph of him in his dress green uniform. And I have it in my closet. And when people see it, it's always the same thing. Hey, bro, when did you do a World War II movie? It's not I look like him. It's like doppelganger. But God works in ways like that when you stop and look around, if you don't pay attention, you think, no, he's not around here right now. I mean, he's always there. And when you start to open your heart and your mind to things like that, you realize how greatly we're loved. Because that's not coincidence. That's not it just happened to. No, that's his
moment for her. And
oh
for
my
you.
goodness, it was just incredible.
And your family.
And my family.
I just thought that was an incredible story.
And if so many things happen like that, Michelle, where I just would sit back and go, what? But those are the rewards for pursuing what's inside of you.
Yeah.
And I believe with all my heart, the dream, when you're a little kid, what do you want to be? I want to be a doctor and an attorney, the president and a pro football player and an astronaut. You don't see limitations, right?
Right.
By the time that same kid is in the 7th grade, what do you want to be? I don't know. Because people have told him, get your head out of the clouds.
Yeah. Dash those dreams. Yeah.
We always say, where does God live? In the clouds. Mm-hmm. Right? Not really, but those dreams are there for a reason and a purpose. They turn impossible into I'm possible.
Yeah.
I'm living proof. I've lived the dreams of my life.
Amazing
I'm no better
story.
than anybody else, just more hard-headed, and I refuse to ever quit. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know what that word means.
And if you could speak to the younger self, your 19-year-old self, going to New York, what would you tell him today?
Honestly, you're on a hell of a ride. And just recognize every second and moment of it. More than I did. I've always had that. I'm the guy that when we would go camping every year or twice a year at Sequoia National Forest. In the spring, I would stand next to these giant sequoias that you can't even, you're just massive.
Yeah.
And there are these little 3-petal flowers that grow at the base of them in the spring of every color. Imagine. It's the most beautiful thing. And I would go, the same hand that made that made those, and it would bring me. It always brought me to tears. My kids would always laugh like, "Dad, you cry at commercials." I do because it's my heart is soft,
and you can appreciate.
But
things.
it has to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on a lighter note,
yeah,
I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
A few questions, and see. I want to know how you can answer these.
Okay.
And you can only name one.
I'm nervous.
Okay? One actor. I want you to name one actor who made you laugh constantly. Most entertaining for you.
That's got to be Conway.
Okay.
The man's a genius.
Classic.
Well, him and modern day actor. What's the guy that played? Oh shoot, I'll think of it in a second. He was on The Office, the lead guy on The Office. I just went blank.
That's okay. We'll come back to
Yeah.
it. What is the funniest memory that you have taking place on a set that you can tell us legally? That won't get anyone in trouble.
There's quite a few. It was always off scripted. That was the best. But for me personally, we're doing a Christmas episode of Coach, and the way that we had blocked it, Jerry's on once. It's a Christmas party, right? And Dick Van Dyke did a cameo, so he walks in front of Jerry, and Jerry's like, that guy looks familiar, right? But anyway, Jerry was just a different cat, man. He would fart and with the audience there, or like,
really?
Yeah, he just didn't care. And so the thing was, I come in the door and meet with Fagerbaki, and we see Jerry over there, and like, hey, how you doing, Luther? And he crosses the entire room to come meet us. Well, right before he crosses, and I say, hey, how you doing, man? How you doing, dog? He's like, oh, good, John. Oh, look, there's Luther. And we turn and look. And at that moment, Jerry coughed. And I saw, excuse me, folks, but I saw the biggest loogie go into his hand. And he just kind of like held it in his fist like that. Well, he's got to cross over and shake my hand. And when he crossed over, he was like, hey, John, how you doing? And he put his hand out and I was like, no, stop, shut, no. And I took off running.
Oh, gosh.
And it was just, but that was Jerry.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Oh, I've got stories I can't share on air.
Sure.
That one of them is just the most unreal. I'll share with you off air.
You can tell me next time.
Wow.
Was there a role that you almost didn't take that you're very glad you did?
Yeah, and it's something that I've never seen.
Really?
It was a national commercial. It was going to be a national commercial. I had to choose. I had offer for guest starring roles on 2 shows and 2 national commercials all at the same time, and I wanted to do all of them. My agent's like, you can't. So she was able to reschedule the 2 shows, and I could pick one commercial. And I went up to Minneapolis, Minnesota to do it. And the commercial, this was 1990, because my son was not quite a year old. It was for a service that would protect kids online from child predators. And I chose it because I played the predator. And it was the most difficult thing, Michelle, I've ever done. How do you do something like that when you're not that person? And I just, like 3 to 4 days before I left, I just kept trying to empty my soul of light. And it got so overwhelmed, I couldn't even touch my son.
Dark.
I couldn't hold him.
Yeah, very dark.
And flew to Minneapolis, shot the commercial over a 2-day period. Because they offered it to me because they're like, predators don't look like the monster. They look like the guy next door.
Nice guy.
Right? Yeah. A bunch of them just arrested on the Disney cruise ship a couple of days ago.
Oh.
And it was so painful to do that.
Really?
I got back to the hotel, and when they fly you in a location like that, they have to put you up in like the VIP suite. It was a big shower, and I'll never forget. I just wanted to get to the room. And I turned that shower on to scalding. And I got on the floor of that shower, and I had all the water on me. And I wept for probably an hour.
Really? It takes that much out of you.
It's exhausting.
Yeah,
when you have to stay in an emotional place, because you'll shoot a master, then you go in for a 2-shot, and then you have overs and singles and everything else. You've got to bring that emotion as if it's the first time coming out of your mouth, like we're talking now.
Yeah.
I grew up working physical labor as a boy growing up, and I love hard work like that. I still love doing it today. I can't wait to get back to it. But mental exhaustion is worse than physical. Physical, you can push.
Was there ever a point where you had to rediscover yourself outside of the industry? I mean, with all these wonderful experiences. Coming home, how did that happen?
It's funny. You know how like high schools down here have reunion softball tournaments, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember coming home when I was just finishing up acting school in New York, about to move to Europe. And there was a group of guys that I thought were my friends. And when I came back home for this tournament, be like, oh, hey, John, I heard you still bartending, bro. You're not a big star yet? Oh, bro, but I'm working on it. And then I come home one year, and I am I'm a recurring guest star on one of the top 10 TV shows on television. And those same guys, I get to the complex where we had the tournament. They were sitting in the back of a pickup truck. I was like, yo, guys, what's up? Oh, can't believe you said hi. Thought you'd be too good for us now. And I realized at that moment, you can't please everybody all the time, right?
No, you cannot.
I kind of look at it this way. When you wake up in the morning, half of the world can't stand you. And by lunch, the half that thought they liked you, they don't like you either. So, all that matters is the people that truly love you and that you truly love. Everything else, if they can get something from it, fantastic. I'll give you everything I've got. For my heart, my soul, whatever, my wallet, my shirt.
Right.
But if not, then just move on, right?
Just let it go.
People just, they'd rather tear down other people because of their own failings and faults and fears.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? So moving home, was it healing for you to move past Hollywood and negativity, or? Well,
I'd shared with you a situation that happened yesterday when I came back home. But it was a challenging decision because I put in 20-something years to get to where I got.
Yeah.
And the last 8 months I was out there, my agent and I, Kim Dorr, we looked through probably, I guess, 20 scripts. I was going to get my own pilot. I had done that much work that networks and the studios were going to give me a shot at, and it was just finding the right one. We had narrowed it down to a couple, but it still wasn't the right fit, I didn't think. And I walked away from it because we prayed for a few years, that God would open some doors and close some doors. And the reason being, paparazzi are just ridiculous. And it's like, who cares? I mean, it's my job. I like going to the grocery store in my old dirty t-shirt and my shorts.
You're
after
human.
I've cut the grass and weed eat, right?
Right.
And it's like out there, you can't do that. Because you'll end up like, oh, it's a big scandal. He looks like a vomit.
Right.
And I just didn't want, and I don't want to generalize, but LA is a cesspool, right? You feel like you're living in a foreign country. The cost of living is ridiculous. Right now, I think they're paying $8 or $9 in gas per gallon of gas. Oh, no. The traffic, you live your life in a car. And
so how old were your children when you decided to move home?
When we moved back, Audrey was just 2 and Nicholas was 5.5.
Okay.
And he and I, Audrey and Jackie flew back, and he drove the U-Haul with his dad back. We had a little father-son time.
Okay.
But I don't regret that for a single second, especially now that he's 28, she's 22. He's a special operations scout sniper in the Marine Corps. She is, God, she's amazing. And I know that it depends on the parents, and they would be similar if we had stayed out there. But Jackie's from here and I'm from here. I wanted them to know who they are. Yeah. Too many people don't know who they are anymore. Right. You don't know your cousins. You don't have family reunions.
Yes.
And you have to know who you are and where you garner strength from to push you in those moments when it gets hard. Because life ain't easy.
Yeah. It's your roots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you draw upon, right?
Right. What makes you stronger.
Yes.
And what heals you.
Exactly.
Well, we have so much more to talk about, but we're going to have you come back for part 2 because of the fullness, should I say, of your life and your story. And I hope you would agree to that.
I'd be more than honored to. I feel sorry for the audience, but you're going to put up with me for
Not at all.
I'll close with this. You have to choose. It's always a choice. And like I mentioned to you before, life, as you get older, becomes very binary. You choose to make a reason or you make an excuse. You make a reason, you're going to live from it. If you excuse, you're going to die in it.
Yeah.
This one takes a lot of work and a lot of truth and honesty, determination. That one is about pity, and I despise pity.
Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Get up and...
There's nothing you can't do.
Yeah. Think positively. Whatever avenue you need to take to get past that hurdle that you're facing in life.
I admire you for the process you use in the work you do. I admire accountants. You know what I mean? Everybody's got to have process.
Craft.
It's about process.
Right,
exactly.
Right, yeah.
So,
well,
thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And thank you for being here. But my last question.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. It's thought-provoking.
Okay.
How do you maintain your posture while pursuing your purpose in life?
Oh, man. I think that's got to come from, it's funny you say that because, I guess we'll get into it. Yesterday was 4 months since I had my left leg amputated above the knee. And one of the things, and I don't sound vain, but I'm 6'5". And I know that when I walk into a room, because of my past, you just develop a persona, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been on crutches for 3 years. I had 8 surgeries. And so that's how I met you.
Yes.
Herniated disc, right?
Episode 2.
Yeah. But I've wondered if I'd ever get that back. Because that's part of who I am. Not in a dominant way, but in I try to make others bigger and me smaller. And the more I do that, the happier I become.
Yes, giving to others. Well, that wraps up a little bit about you. You're larger than life in more ways than one, and it's been a blessing to get to know you.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you for being here. And until next time, sit up straight, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay adjusted.
Thanks for listening to the Posture and Purpose podcast with Dr. Michelle Carr Frank. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Until next time.